I want to make you my special assistant. My name is Liam. I was 41 and had been grinding through 12-hour days at Velthorn Global for 7 years. Senior Operations Analyst, Division 3. I kept the numbers clean, the processes running, and my mouth shut. That was the deal. But sitting in Clarissa Wynn's glass office that Tuesday morning, staring at her predatory smile, I knew something had shifted. She leaned back in her executive chair, fingers drumming against the mahogany desk like she was playing a private game only she understood. It comes with extra duties, she continued, her voice dropping an octave. Discretion, loyalty, you know what I mean. I kept my face neutral. 7 years of corporate survival had taught me to read between the lines, but this wasn't subtle. This was a proposition wrapped in corporate speak, delivered by a woman who thought her corner office gave her the right to treat employees like personal accessories. Clarissa had been promoted to Vice President of Business Strategy 6 months earlier. Fresh blood, they called it. Dynamic leadership. She was 38, sharp as a razor, and had climbed the ladder faster than anyone in company history. The board loved her quarterly projections. The shareholders loved her cost-cutting initiatives. But I had started noticing things. The way she lingered near my desk during morning rounds. How she scheduled our quarterly reviews at upscale restaurants instead of the conference room. Last month, she had invited me to a weekend leadership retreat in Asheville. When I declined, citing family obligations, she had given me a look that could freeze water. Think about it, Liam, she said now, standing and smoothing her skirt. Opportunities like this don't come around often, especially for someone at your level. The pause before level was deliberate, a reminder that I was disposable, replaceable. Just another middle management drone who should feel grateful for her attention. I stood up, straightening my tie. I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to decline. Her smile faltered for just a second. Excuse me? I'm here to work, I said. Not for whatever this is. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Clarissa's eyes narrowed, and for a moment the polished executive mask slipped completely. What I saw underneath was raw entitlement mixed with shock. Nobody had ever said no to her before. I see, she said slowly. Well, Liam, maybe you should think carefully about your priorities. This company values team players, ambitious people who understand how business really works. I nodded once and headed for the door. As I reached for the handle, she spoke again. Real men know how to seize opportunities. I didn't turn around. I just walked out, closed the door behind me, and went back to my desk. But something cold had settled in my stomach. This wasn't over. I had built my career on precision and reliability. While other guys played office politics or chased promotions through schmoozing, I focused on results. Clean reports, accurate forecasts, zero drama. That approach had served me well at Velthorn Global, a mid-sized logistics company that handled freight distribution across the Southeast. I started as a junior analyst fresh out of college, worked my way up through merit, and earned respect by being the guy who could solve problems without creating new ones. My ex-wife Jennifer used to joke that I was married to spreadsheets instead of her. Maybe she was right. After our divorce 3 years ago, work became even more central to my life. My daughter Chloe lived with her mother in Raleigh, and our weekend visits were the highlight of my week. Everything else revolved around maintaining the stability that supported those moments. The warning signs with Clarissa had been subtle at first, too subtle. It started with comments during team meetings. Liam always has such insightful perspectives, she would say, letting her hand rest on my shoulder just a beat too long. When I presented quarterly efficiency reports, she would sit closer than necessary, her perfume mixing with the recycled air in the conference room. Then came the invitations. Coffee meetings that felt more like dates. A company dinner where she seated me next to her and spent the evening talking about her personal life, instead of business strategies. Last month, she had suggested we attend a trade conference in Atlanta together. When I mentioned that my colleague Derek usually handled those events, she said Derek lacked my special touch. I had started documenting things without really thinking about it. Professional paranoia, maybe. Screenshots of text messages that arrived after business hours. Emails with unusual subject lines. meeting invitations that seemed unnecessarily personal. My gut had been sending signals for weeks, but I had pushed them aside. Clarissa was ambitious and aggressive, sure, but she was also successful. I assumed her behavior was just misguided networking or poor boundary management. Corporate environments could be weird that way. But yesterday changed everything. She had called me into her office to discuss the Henderson account. Normal enough. Except when I arrived, she was wearing a dress that belonged in a nightclub, not a boardroom. The conversation kept drifting away from logistics toward personal topics. Her vacation plans, my weekend activities, whether I was seeing anyone. "You know, Liam," she had said, leaning forward across her desk, "successful partnerships require trust, intimacy, understanding what each other really needs." I had redirected the conversation back to shipping schedules and left as quickly as possible. Now, sitting at my desk after declining her special assistant offer, I realized I had been naive. This wasn't about career advancement or professional development. This was about power and control, dressed up in corporate language. I opened my secure email folder and started reviewing the evidence I had unconsciously been collecting. The pattern was clearer now, and more disturbing than I had imagined. The termination letter arrived 90 minutes later. I was reviewing freight manifests when human resources knocked on my cubicle wall. Sandra from HR looked uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact as she handed me the envelope. "Effective immediately," the letter read. "Due to insubordination and failure to align with company values, your employment with Velthorn Global is terminated. Please gather your personal belongings and report to security for escort from the premises." I read it twice, then looked up at Sandra. She was wringing her hands like she had been ordered to execute a puppy. "This is a mistake," I said quietly. "I'm sorry, Liam. It came from executive level. I don't have any details." 5 minutes later, security was standing beside my desk. 2 guards I had seen 100 times in the lobby, now treating me like a criminal. Other employees watched from their workstations, whispering behind hands and computer monitors. I packed my few personal items, a coffee mug, a photo of Chloe, my backup phone charger, while one guard observed and the other filled out paperwork. The whole process took less than 10 minutes. As they escorted me through the lobby, I saw Clarissa standing near the elevator bank. She was talking to another executive, but her eyes were fixed on me. When our gazes met, she smiled. Not friendly, triumphant. "Real men know how to seize opportunities," she had said. Now I understood what she meant. This was punishment for not playing her game, a demonstration of power. Submit or be destroyed. I didn't react, didn't argue or make a scene. I just kept walking until I reached the parking garage, climbed into my Honda, and sat there for 5 minutes, letting reality settle. 7 years of steady employment. Gone. My reputation in the industry, potentially damaged. My ability to support my daughter, compromised. All because I had refused to become some executive's personal plaything. But as I drove home through Charlotte traffic, something shifted inside me. The initial shock was fading, replaced by something colder and more focused. Clarissa had made a mistake. She had assumed I was weak, disposable, someone who would